Hello, I'm Frank. Yeah, that's it. Alright guys, so for those of you that don't know, recently I've been doing a lot of videos on Xbox and their future and plans, but it got me thinking about the future of gaming as a whole, for technologies on not only consoles, but PC and mobile as well. And I thought I would talk with you guys today about the technologies that are coming soon that will have a large and lasting impact on the gaming industry and likely will change everything forever. Because as much as we like to look back on the games of old with rose-tinted glasses and quite a bit of nostalgia, I think overall, gaming has gotten better. And there are downsides. Tencent and China seem to be buying every single company alive. Microtransactions are getting more and more expensive in games, and predatory tactics, especially in the mobile market, are more prevalent than ever. But overall, the types of experiences and overall stories and gameplay experiences we can have gotten better. And now, more than ever, it's easier to create games. It's easier to express yourself and for new studios to make a big splash. And today, I want to talk with you guys about exactly what the most important things are coming to the gaming industry that could radically change gaming for the better. So yeah, guys, let's talk about it. And if you want to talk about topics like this with me live, head on over to twitch.tv/FranklyGaming. I love seeing you guys from YouTube and talking to you about the videos I've made. Or also, while you're here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and absolutely violate that like button. Just hit it. Just hit it. So before we talk about exactly what I think are the biggest things coming down the gaming pipeline that will change gaming in the near future, let's really talk about everything that's on the docket that people have been talking about. That way, we're all on the same page. So first up, let's talk about game streaming. With a multitude of services now, including Google Stadia, Microsoft's xCloud, and Nvidia GeForce Now, there are a lot of big players in the streaming space that are trying to have low latency, high quality gaming content for people on lower end hardware or any hardware to boot. And these services I only see getting bigger, but we'll talk about that more later in this video. On top of this, another really big technological push recently is ray tracing. You're seeing a lot of different technologies coming out from Nvidia with RTX and also AMD with RDNA 2, as well as Microsoft with DXR. But overall, ray tracing seems really promising. While it is very taxing on your system, new GPUs with dedicated ray tracing cores included on the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 will allow more games to have a solid lighting enhancement, as we've already seen with Minecraft, Quake, and Control. Next up, another really big push is just hardware overall. We're seeing faster SSDs, especially from the PlayStation side, more and better RAM across all suites of gaming, and enhanced graphics cards and CPUs on 7nm, even 5nm processes, and specifically on the CPU sides, multi-core rendering, which hopefully will be utilized more and more down the line as different game engines start to include more multi-processing thread utilization. And it's not just the hardware on your machine that's changing, because cloud architecture, along with streaming services, as I mentioned before, is really starting to mature from big companies like Microsoft and Amazon. And their expertise in cloud architecture should allow new immersive games like MMOs to push the envelope like they never have before. But more on that later. On top of this, as we've all seen in the past few years, virtual and augmented reality are starting to grow. And for those of you who haven't tried them yet, they really are amazing. And it'll be interesting to see where those go in the future as well. And there's a lot of big players like Facebook and Oculus betting on that future. On top of this, we also have some really interesting developments in how games are being made. So while in the last generation, with the PlayStation, the Xbox, and PC, there was a lot of different standard development kits that developers had to target for specific systems. But as the ecosystem of gaming has matured, more and more all systems are moving to a more PC-like architecture, which means it's going to be easier for large and small developers to be making games across all different platforms that they are trying to target. And this is good for all gamers, as it really allows people to jump in and play on whatever they want and gives developers an ease of access to get there. And it's not just that, because another big development across different platforms is cross-platform. If you haven't noticed already, a large multitude of big games and smaller games coming out recently are cross-platform. That means playing with your PlayStation friends on PC or with your Xbox friends on PlayStation, depending on the game. And more we are seeing this push recently, and I hope in the future, to allowing everyone to play with all of their friends regardless of the platform. From the development side, again, we are also seeing a more open source approach to gaming development. This means it's cheaper and easier for newer and even experienced devs to hop into new environments for making games, like Unity and new game engines coming out that are completely free and allow users to just jump in and start creating immersive and amazing games and stop focusing on a giant budget or really all of the red tape that can hold games back. On top of this, games have been having a push recently, at least in the industry, to having a feeling first design. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's really trying to focus on the player experience over everything else. For so long now, games have been trying to target the best graphics and just the highest fidelity. But now, as gaming has matured, it's become obvious that a lot of studios are trying to target gameplay and experience first. Because at the end of the day, in a mature market like gaming that has now hit the mainstream, that's how you're going to make critically acclaimed and successful selling games. To round this section off as well, we have a lot of other bursting technologies coming to the scene. Higher refresh rates are becoming more standard across not only PCs, but consoles. Artificial intelligence is getting a lot better, and neural networks are allowing us to tap in to certain types of gameplay that we've never seen before. But that's the gist of some of the main technologies that are coming down the pipeline. And there are a lot more things, and through my research, there was a bunch of things I found, but I wanted to narrow it down to some just so we could all be on the same page here. But now, I want to talk about my vision and what I see being the most important technologies that are going to change gaming fundamentally forever and why. So let's talk about it. So the first thing I want to talk about is game streaming. Because while I know a lot of these services like Google Stadia have been getting memed on and quite honestly failed pretty hard at their release, the potential of game streaming is staggering. Because you have to remember that gaming isn't only a hardcore audience that buys the most expensive console, the most expensive PC, and plays at the highest fidelities they possibly can. A lot of gamers nowadays, now that we've hit the mainstream with things like Fortnite, play on their phones, play on their tablets, or play on lower end hardware that can't run everything to snuff. But game streaming changes all of that. It allows users across the world, regardless of their hardware, with at least a half decent internet connection, to play these games at the full fidelity they are meant to be enjoyed at. Imagine playing Ghost of Tsushima, the newest PlayStation exclusive, on your phone at full fidelity while going to the bathroom. And another thing about game streaming that people don't realize is the potential to save a state and play it across different places you're going. Imagine being at home and playing your new favorite game, but then having to go on vacation. You can bring your phone along and save that state you were at and pick up right from it, right on your phone, your tablet, your laptop, really whatever you want to play on, all seamlessly across one integrated cloud environment. And another thing people aren't talking about a lot is this potential to really integrate game streaming with platforms like Twitch and YouTube, and the potential to have other maybe viewers join your game sessions live as it's happening. Game streaming is about more than just streaming a game over the internet. It really opens up the potential of games to reach new audiences, and likely there will be ways to use game streaming for new experiences that we haven't even thought of yet. And there's so much potential there with a mature cloud architecture now in place from things like Amazon and Microsoft, that it's finally time that this can be a big hit. Another thing that I think will be enormously impactful and positively change the gaming market in the near future is the move to a more universal base of really gameplay as well as cross-platform. And what I mean by that is what I mentioned before. It is now easier than it has ever been to develop games. Things like Unity and new free platforms allow developers of all kinds, new and old, to make the experiences they want to make easier than ever before. And also, as I mentioned before, things like having the PlayStation, the Xbox, and other consoles more closely mimic the PC means also targeting different platforms is becoming easier. Advances in artificial intelligence means that game developers don't have to rely so much on painstakingly creating every art piece. The artificial intelligence can really generate a lot of certain maps that developers are already going for with certain terrain objects. They can also increase the NPC intelligence. Instead of having to make so many scripted encounters in RPGs that are memorable, instead, using neural networks, developers can create experiences that happen organic and naturally, kind of like they would happen in a multiplayer game, but in single player. And even more than all of this, all of these experiences are starting to come together into one catalog of cross-platform. More and more than ever, developers are open to the idea of their players playing with other players on different platforms. With rumors of things like Microsoft Game Pass coming to Nintendo and many more new games having cross-platform between PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, it's becoming quite obvious that the entire gaming ecosystem is going to a more open source and overall just open nature that will really benefit the most the consumer at the end of the day. Because while these different companies want to have their own property, like Sony having exclusives and things like that, the gaming landscape is moving past that. We're now going into a world where everything will potentially be open. You may be able to get Xbox games on Nintendo and then play them on your phone on xCloud, and then go over to your PlayStation and then play an exclusive there that you then go play on your tablet. This is one of the most impactful changes that people aren't talking about enough in gaming. And it's more impactful than just increases in ray tracing and lighting or enhanced graphics. We're at a point now where graphics are quite honestly at their near epitome. There's going to be advances like ray tracing, and as more and more CPU utilizations are coming through, especially in new engines, it's going to help. But the things that are going to change most are the things around gaming. Because you see, we've reached a point in the gaming industry where we're mainstream now. We're bigger than movies. We're bigger than radio. We're bigger than every other entertainment platform on the planet. And it's because of that, and because of the fact that we've reached such a high fidelity already in new releases like Ghost of Tsushima and everything coming to the PC, that it's time that developers have to stand out by focusing on the gameplay, the feeling first design. And this is one of the next biggest changes coming to gaming. Because now that we've hit such a big peak, and now that it is becoming so easy to develop, and there are so many different platforms you can target, and everyone can play with themselves, the focus has finally come back to what made gaming so great when it first started out. What you remember from all your nostalgic days growing up as a kid and playing, it's coming back to the gameplay, the player experience, and that immersive feel and really just exhilarating gameplay that was known and painstakingly targeted in the early days of gaming that we kind of lost in the past 10 or 20 years. Consumers and developers, as well as marketers, are now targeting what's actually important. Instead of just trying to make a prettier looking game, developers are trying to hit 120 hertz. Something that I can personally attest to as someone who upgraded from a 60 hertz monitor to 144 makes a huge difference. Developers are now more worried about making artificial intelligence systems that will allow their games to react to you in a more intelligent way and give you a more immersive experience. And we're now just at the cusp of all of this. I think by far the best example of this is Nvidia's DLSS 2.0. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's essentially a new neural network machine learning algorithm that Nvidia has developed that allows games to run at higher frame rates on really high resolutions. Instead of running your game at native 4K, DLSS instead streams your game at a lower quality, say 1080p, but uses machine learning to fill in the gaps and create a picture that, quite honestly, as you can see, looks basically the same. And this sort of technology, not just on newer Nvidia cards, but in consoles with AMD as well, is going to make a giant and drastic difference in how good and how well games can run in the future. And on top of developers focusing more on stories and the things gamers care most about, gameplay, this should really lend itself to games that, as a full package, are better than they've ever been. You see, as I've already mentioned in a lot of my previous Xbox videos on this channel, I don't think a lot of people see just how much gaming is about to radically change in the ways we play, in the ways we interact. Let's be quite honest, there's going to be a lot of games in the future that have an insane amount of Twitch integration, where you can play with real celebrities and some of your favorite YouTubers or Twitch streamers live. There's going to be more interaction across different platforms, as I've already noted multiple times. And it's going to be easier than ever to develop with new free open source platforms that are easy to make and artificial intelligence systems that will make making things even easier. At the end of the day, gaming is now really in the best spot it's ever been. It's easier to make games now. Developers are more focused on what gamers actually care about: high refresh rates, storylines, characters, gameplay. And overall, the industry is pushing to a place that, quite honestly, a lot of people always hoped for, but they don't even see it. And I think it's crazy just how much things are about to really get mixed up. And I can't wait to see where all the different console manufacturers, all the different game developers go in these coming years, and how the consumers react. Because this might be one of the biggest changes in gaming we've ever seen. Because at the end of the day, we always look fondly back on our memories as kids playing games. I remember growing up with a Nintendo GameCube and a PlayStation 2, an Xbox 360 in high school, and playing all of these huge games like Forza Motorsport, Halo 3, Modern Warfare 2, Smash Bros. With all my friends. And I loved those years, and they were great. But something we don't realize is that usually the longer and longer something goes on, the better it gets. And there will be times we falter, where Tencent buys everything and your grandma, where different game companies focus more on monetization than the actual game. But as we progress as an industry, that will get better. As we've already seen some of the biggest games, Cyberpunk 22. That shouldn't be mainstream. It's about Cyberpunk, a nerdy thing. But gaming's hit the mainstream. And games like Cyberpunk are lauded by a majority of the audience because they're good, not because they're supposed to tailor to a big audience like a military shooter. At the end of the day, gaming, it has been getting better, and it's about to get a lot better. Or at least I hope so. But let me know down below, guys. What do you guys think? What are going to be the biggest advancements in gaming? What do you think is going to be the most impactful things to you, me, and really the sphere as a whole in these coming years? I'd really love to know. Leave a comment if you would like. I'll be responding to all of you guys for sure. And like I said, go check me out on my Twitch channel if you want to talk about things like this live. But I really appreciate you guys coming out today. Thanks so much for listening to this talk. I really enjoy talking about topics like this and gaming and the future of gaming and hardware and things like that. It's something I'm very passionate about. So thank you all so much, very much for watching today. I appreciate all the support, and I will see you all on the next one. Oh my God, chat, watch this. The lion stalks its prey. Out in the wild, oh God damn it!